So I suppose we could call the meeting. Words. At 7:33 a.m. So we have to take roll call. Jen Miller is here. Taylor Marody is here. Monica Heimbach, Sheila Nagel, Shannon Gibson, myself, Ryan Schlichter. Have to approve that. Motion to approve or no?
No, we still make a motion.
Okay. Great. So then we move on to negotiations.
All right, well, you send this to, did they have this?
No.
Okay.
Copies of it.
Okay. It will be a good thing.
The same.
These are just some of the things that are on our list. If we don't, maybe on there, we'll figure we'll talk about them. The state legislature kind of gets their final numbers in line. First one there is short-term leave of absence. Just as a quick explanation of kind of what we're looking at or what the thought processes behind that. The last couple of negotiation periods, we've been dancing around the maternity leave, hourly leave, half day, full day, all the other leave things that we've kind of danced around the last couple of things. This is a way we hope that is a compromise to that. Basically, what we're asking for is that if we get to if a teacher gets to a situation where they're out of leave, and especially again thinking of our new mothers, and most of our new mothers have had multiple children within a couple of year time span. And if you have one kid, that kind of eats up all of your sick leave, and then if you have another kid a year and a half, 2 years later, you generally don't have enough time to recoup your sick leave to do that, and then the appointments and everything that go after that. So instead of having teachers take unpaid time, if I can get another teacher to work for me when I'm gone for that appointment, then I don't have to take unpaid time, and it doesn't cost the district any money by hiring a substitute teacher and having to pay them for a half a day's wage for coming in for an hour or 50 minutes or however long that may be. And it's a volunteer basis. It can be, obviously it has to be tracked probably in some capacity to the school, whether that's with Marine, and you know what I mean? It's just it's not an other leave, it's not a sick leave, it's a whatever we'd like to designate the name of it leave. And it kind of allows us to take that leave on that hourly basis with finding somebody to do it. And it's on the teacher. It's no extra work to do. It's like, hey, Ryan, I have to leave at 3 o'clock, or I have to leave at 2:15 to do whatever, and you got to prep. And if I got, let's say at the end of the day, I have to leave for 2 hours because I have to, I have a pediatrician appointment at Aberdeen and I'm on sick leave. You got a 6th hour, you got a 7th hour, hey, would you? And if, Ryan says, well, I just give a test, or we got state testing, or he doesn't have to, you know what I mean? It's optional for everybody. But the other thing is, like, if I go to Ryan and I ask for this, Ryan knows he can come to me and ask for the same, you know what I mean, and work that thing. And it's what we do already. Like, realistically, so Tuesday I had to go to a track meet. I went into Hackney's room and said, hey, can my homeroom kids come here because I got to go to the track meet? Yep, fine. I have a meeting out at the center today at 3 o'clock. I said, hey, Kaylee, can you take my home? You know what I mean? Hey, I had a dentist appointment the other day, and I found, like, Ed, are you busy on Monday morning at 8 o'clock? I got a dentist appointment. Can you watch my first hour? Yep, I'll tell you what. So we do it anyways, for the most part. It's just a way to get us some of the things that we feel like we missed out when we switched the other leave over to half day and full day. And we get why it's that way, because if you got to pay somebody for a half a day, that's what it's going to cost us. And I don't think we're going to argue that out necessarily. I don't think that's gonna probably go anywhere. So this is a way to kind of get the thing that we miss and would like and not incur any extra expense to. This is kind of. The wording in there is like, so, where did you get this from, Ryan?
A school in Grand Forks had this. The main thing is, yeah, it does not exceed 2 hours. And that it's known to the teachers that they will not get compensated as a volunteer. But that's again to help not accrue any costs in school, so.
And I think maximizes our pupil contact, right? Like if you have an appointment at 2, but you gotta take a half a day, you're gone at noon. Versus like you could leave at 1:50 or 1:55 or whatever, you know, just to maximize that time in front of kids. Versus like, I mean, I had to sign paperwork at the bank once, I had to take a whole half day. When it was like at 2 o'clock, it took me 10 minutes to be there, right? So that's kind of our thought process.
A question on that. What kind of a maximum do you have on that? Because obviously, if you're out of sick leave, you've already used a bunch of time, so you're not in the classroom. And now you're going around asking all the teachers to cover for you. Like, at what point do you put a cap on that?
That's something that, like, realistically, we can, like, if it needs to have a cap on the amount of hours that you are willing to do, we can negotiate that. You know, like, hey, it's 14 hours, it's 10 hours, it's 21. And as we go forward, if this is something that you guys are willing to do as we go forward, again, that is open to negotiation. The amount of people using it will be, I'd assume, limited. You know, I don't think it'll be a ton because the majority of people have enough sick. Like if my kids get sick and I have to take them to an appointment, I have plenty of sick. It's not for me, but you know, Jordan and I last night were sitting around talking about it. And it's like, well, if Allie was still working here, she's had 2 kids in 3 years and another one on the way. She would be completely tapped out of sick. And so we go around and we get, you know, we give 10 hours to Kayla because she's having a kid, and you give 10 hours, and everybody gets. But the problem is you get the amount of time for the maternity. And you burn up all of your sick leave on maternity. But like everybody's had the kids, so like maternity leave, once you come back to school, you still have the appointments every, you know, month to go. And so all of that time ends up being unpaid leave in a large thing. And most teachers feel the exact same way that you feel. Like we would like to be in our class as much as possible. But the other thing is, if we have to take a half a day for a 10-minute appointment, I'm not giving you 2 hours of my time uncompensated. If that makes sense, like if I have to, okay, Kayla's got to go to a thing at 2 o'clock and I have to take a half a day, I'm leaving at noon. Where I don't have to leave it. I have to leave at 2 and I'll be back at 2:30. And this is a way to maximize that amount of time in front of our students.
And I think we would really see like teachers being very cognizant of how much time they're taking. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Teachers don't want to be gone from their class because the next day it's like, you're doubling back, right? Like, oh, what did you do? What didn't you do? Let me reteach all the things that I left, right? Because our subs can only do so much. So I think we would see a lot of like, what's the earliest morning appointment? And I do that right now with ortho for my kids. Like, what's the earliest appointment I can get so I can be gone the least amount of time? Or what's the latest appointment I can get? So maybe I could leave at 3. I mean, like Jeff said, we're covering right now for like, oh, I think I've covered maybe 5 times for baseball or something Peyton has had. Like, hey, can you take my homeroom kids? Absolutely. Yeah, I can. And I'm not getting compensated for that amount of time. I'm just taking on extra kids.
And it
During
happens,
that time frame.
and I'm gonna ask Anna this, because you might know this better than I do. This happens more so in the elementary, I think, than because there's a lot of times where Roxy says like, she had to cover,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
she's
Like,
got to.
yeah, so I think it happens quite a bit in elementary already, in a variety of different capacities. And the other day, Rita was in here subbing, and she's like, well, I just did Mrs. Roberts' class for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, the parents.
Because it's, you know what I mean, it's already happening, and as we get, and especially with days where there's a lot of things. you know, and there's some days where we have a lot of things. And so we all do it anyways. This is just the way that, we think it's a good compromise to where we've kind of been dancing around the last couple of meetings, maternity leave and other leave switching from hourly to half and full, and trying to get some of that back, because we want the same thing that you guys want. We want to be in front of our students as much as possible. We think that's the best for them. And it's the least amount of work that we have to make up, you know. That's that one. Next one on our list is the TFFR, that has to be addressed in some capacity. So there's our suggestion there with it in 2 years going to a, board or at the school covering both sides of it. Some increase in the section 125 money.
The thing I wasn't sure about was the cap, and I did like look that up, and it was like HSA and FSA had different tax caps. So I wasn't completely sure about like what that number was that could go into that section 125. So that obviously is like play aroundable.
Yep.
You know, so I even sent over like, hey, here's what I found, but it was like every category had a different thing.
And it changes every year.
Yeah, so I wasn't really sure about what that should be, so we're flexible on that. And then, the last thing would just be, I don't know if this needs to go under professional growth, but, I think this is something coming up across the state. But if teachers are missing a day, and they're taking a leave day, so like, if you miss PD and you chose to take that day, if you're using another leave day, and you're required to make up whatever you missed, then you'll either be granted the day back or be reimbursed for that day. I did a lot of discussion with our rep about this, and this is something they're seeing in a lot of schools where, like, if you're taking another leave day, then you still have to do 5 hours of work or 6 hours of work for PD over whatever the thing is that you missed. I don't foresee this being a big issue. I think Ryan said on the calendar, we have 3 PD days next year or something. Yeah, yeah.
Well, so we have 3 boxed in the middle of the year and then that one at the end of the year, but yeah, we're planning on doing a Bonky anyway, so. It might be.
Yeah, and not even like on long weekends or something, like, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just a way to protect the leave that people are taking and not requiring them to make up the work. And if we are gonna require them to make up the work that they missed, which is valid, then they shouldn't have to be taking another leave day. Maybe it's something like, we had a speaker come in and there's nothing, like, you can't make that up, you know, then you're using your other leave day. So. Those are very easy lists, so let us know when you're ready to say yes and we'll just.
Initial here, sign here. We'll get the contracts out.
I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Can I make, oh wait, 24, yeah.
Think we get the right numbers, by the way, so that we got the numbers, that's what you're looking at.
You guys got a math guy on that, brother?
Well, I
Well, I
also,
had to change the whole.
like, I wasn't sure if it was like, it has to be 90% or 95% or 100%, or if it had to be
It's
20.
2 different buckets. So the century code says 12.75
Yeah.
is what we're required to put in.
Yep,
It's this pickup that has to be a whole
has to be the
number.
whole, okay.
So I think your second year,
So it gets to 24.5 is the total, so we.
oh, so,
It has
okay,
to
so
be
you
That-
just
that would
want to
be-
have all of it.
That would be
Okay.
both, that's why
Okay,
it's
yep,
24.5. It's both sides.
I didn't go all the way to the end of employee. I was just adding.
Sorry. No, but if that, like, again, if that, it can be 24 and we pay, you know, if that's-
Yeah, no,
I think it's
it'll
pretty
always
well.
be a 0.5% because that's the century code
Yep.
says, is
Yeah.
the total is
Yep.
24.5.
That's why I was confused. I'm like, how's this ever gonna work
It was
out?
the pickup of OPS has to be a whole number
Okay.
or all of it.
Which makes sense. But in 2025, there's no program.
Yeah, right?
It was the pickup that gets, that's RIO, that is always.
The old program did it, so.
Yeah,
everyone
and that's-
can't do it.
Well, no, the old program, that was the problem. You can't ever get pennies to always. Well, I'll pass that along. Or not. Okay.
All right, please, everybody ignore my typo where I called it the negotiation and did agreement.
Nobody probably even noticed. Just look past it. I guess you got like.
Want it,
No.
you're not good.
I'll take mine off.
Okay, so the first one there, Article 1, remove paragraph 2, no need for this, the board recognizes unit at prior board meeting, so it's kind of a redundancy. Right? That was our thought
Right,
process
so what
there.
happens is by law, by century code, you guys have to put forth your unit, your description of your unit, and we have to accept that at a board meeting or recognize that. So we just see no need for it to be in here because if it's in the negotiated agreement, why do we go through those prior steps?
So, I mean, we would say to leave it because of like the inclusion of the librarians. So this was like a lot of like that initial step we took, right? And we modified the language to meet century code. So our language doesn't interfere with century code, it's just more specific than. So we're not in violation of like what century code is identifying as a classroom teacher. This is just ensuring that we're including our librarians in this. I did try to go back like to see when librarians got added. I couldn't find enough old negotiated agreements to figure that out. So, I mean, I think that's Krista's main concern. And, you know, kind of one of our top priorities and it is ensuring that we keep her in our negotiated agreement and included in this. First,
Just one thing that we want to be careful of is not putting names or positions. I know in a small school, it's incredibly hard to do that, but our reasoning behind doing anything of this is not due to the position.
but but it is personal for her.
I understand that.
We
Oh,
had
for sure it is.
multiple conversations about this. That's her primary concern, right? And I know that, I don't know, I know we're not in violation of the century code for having it in there. It's been in there. Our librarians should be included based on the work that gets performed by our librarians versus like them not being included and having no protection under this agreement.
Change last no longer than 90 days to extend no later than July 1st, because our start times, you know, the date we start could be different, but we have to be done by July 1st, according to Century Code. Correct.
I think July 1st somewhere else. On it did, but maybe that's my,
I think in the ground rules we had it.
like my pre-paper that I had to submit.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I don't
see
have
that
it
where I
memorized,
was.
sorry. I've read this a bunch, so it's like all, you know, going together at this point.
I don't think it says on the.
Okay.
Because we are starting later this time than we did last time around, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and for what, however, maybe it's because our school calendar has changed, or maybe the legislative calendar has changed, but
Yeah,
we're gonna be running right up against the end of the school year before.
right, exactly.
Before they know what's.
Before they know what's going on, and then that kind of stalls us out, so
Yeah.
that's why we started later.
Yeah,
And, but.
which makes perfect sense. to
Yeah.
me.
But I don't know, this is different because usually we have a little bit more time,
Right.
but this year is gonna be bang, bang. And hopefully we can get this done and you guys can get contracts out before
Schools open.
it's over. I mean, preferably.
Yep.
For everybody
Totally agree
involved.
there.
I don't have.
Article 2. Oh. So the teacher grievance, we actually have in policy DGAA. So removing that entire section, is that what you said?
Yeah, but keep the disposition that all decisions reached under the OPS grievance procedure policy, blah, 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 blah.
So you'd remove Article 2? The entire Article 2?
Correct. So remove all of Article 2 except for that final disposition on there. So that it would be teacher grievance and other all decisions reached under this procedure shall be filed. Teacher, each school administrator. And be used as precedent for future.
Just reference the policy. Article 3, section 6. Job description shall be emailed to staff. You say,
Rather than.
oh, rather than being posted, because it's not posted, it's emailed, correct?
Yes.
2025.
And I'll just change half hour to state 30 minutes rather than half hours. Is that what that was?
Yes.
That's a shame.
Half a day, not 1 day. 1/2 day. Or 1/2 hour. There's some confusion out there, what 1/2 hour and 30 minutes. I'm
I get the same one.
We believe her.
Okay, Article 4, Section 1, increasing the maximum credits from 75 to 80. I think we've got with
Or
Five.
yeah.
It's 5.
Teachers that are beyond that 75.
that have been for quite some time.
Does that include the one that is, not coming back next year? The 5? Okay, so we'll have 4 going forward.
I
And are
suspect-
there a few of them that are close?
Yes.
There's one I know.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got some at 64.
But this is of last year's credit. Nobody hands in credit hours until August.
Right. Section 3, paragraph 4. Eliminate and combine with number 6.
That was the change that they was agreed to this year, but now we would just have to put it
Oh,
in.
yeah.
for-
That's right, that was,
Shannon,
we had,
you have that.
we had
filed,
that
right?
updated,
In February, I believe. it was.
yeah, that we all signed off on, I don't recall it, but. So this would just putting, because that was just temporary, so this would be putting it into the negotiating. Do you have that?
I do. I do. Yes. Six cents word for word. It's true that. Twenty-four.
Right, we pulled that directly out of that amended.
I just need that.
I'll make us a copy of this.
Sure.
She likes commerce.
What am I doing?
So you like to make copies? As long as you clearly hear it. So she's not on the other side, so she can hear us.
That's so sure that's what a big part either. All right. Section 5, where we at? Oh, health insurance. So we're proposing that we remove the option 1, the traditional health insurance, and go straight to high deductible. Just, that would shore up and free up some dollars in our budget for additional increases elsewhere. The difference between the two policies is, I don't know, actually, what is it, almost $3,000?
Okay. How many people take the traditional?
Hold on. So for a
Okay,
single
okay.
policy, for the high deduct is $8,600. This is the new rates. $8,600, and the single policy for traditional is $10,600. So it's $2,000, almost 2,020 something dollars. The difference. How many take the? Currently, we have 13, 14, 15, 16 taking the traditional. 24 taking high deductible. That's school-wide. That's not teachers.
I was gonna say, I only counted.
I don't get a breakdown of, did I give you?
Can you give us a breakdown of teachers?
I'm counting on the spreadsheet here, and it's 1, 6, 7, we should focus.
So the high deduct, or the traditional is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. You're right.
Thank you.
You counted well. Fifteen taking the high deduct, and then and 10 that don't take insurance at all. Actually, That's probably changed since I created this because we had one teacher just have a life event and they had to take, they took a high deduct, so there's one more. on high deduct, and one less on the taking no insurance.
Same thought process of moving, number 3
Just-
there. Go ahead.
One question for clarification for us. Does that include, is this just families or every like single policy, traditional, everybody's now?
Doing away with the traditional.
Okay.
So that would be school-wide.
Okay, so what is that? How much is it for a single policy currently for our single teachers? How much does the school pay for that? You know what I'm saying? So if it's 10,000 for the school cost for, is that 10,000 for that? Is that
Okay,
what, is that
so
the number?
I'm not sure what you're asking, but like.
Single versus family.
Single, single versus what?
Yep, I got it. No, I understand. It's this, because the school only pays the single.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just had to get it in my brain. I get it.
So the high deduct will be $717.11 for a single.
Yeah.
And it goes up to $886.05 for the traditional.
Yeah.
A month.
So, removing option 3 there, electing not to accept health insurance, I think we get half of the single into their section 125 plan. Removing that option.
So if they don't take out insurance, they don't get any compensation.
And just a short little back section. I could have worked it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, increase membership to 8%. And we can put dollars. Well, do we want to have further discussions on anything or?
I think I'm good on all, I think I get where you're coming from with all things. You got any questions on anything that we? With both of us having the understanding that whenever the state decides on finding,
Right.
final funding, then we can buy compensation. And some of these are stalled until we get to that point anyways. Because neither one of us made any suggestions on rate, you know, like.
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
don't know.
well. You want to talk about that part right now?
You can't start applying money to unknown circumstances. because that's-
Have we heard any more on the legislature on that?
Yeah, so it came out of the House at 3%, but they took out the rolling average, so that's the thing that is going to kill us, is that rolling average is gone, because our declining enrollment is down 20 kids.
But everything that's come out of the house so far has been really low.
The House came out at 3%, Senate came out at 2%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so hopefully, then it'll end up having to go to Congress. So that'll be the last bill, that'll be the 11th hour, but.
You guys know about that rolling out average that they proposed? Yeah. So essentially, over the last 3 years, was it?
Yeah, we've been able to
They would
ride that way.
average our per pupil enrollment for our payment rather than looking at our last year, which is what they traditionally do. So that would help us enormously because our enrollment was higher.
Yeah, 20 kids.
So
It was just kind of to ease the schools with declining enrollment down, so all of a sudden you could start to go off the cliff and then we
Yeah.
pull that away. Now we're on the cliff. That's a huge difference for us.
some big families, they want to recruit.
Yesterday, the governor vetoed that,
The voucher bill.
but they say
There's
that
another one.
he's waiting for the 2,400 is where that'll come. So they're supposed to hear that today on the floor, so you guys. We need a
I did, there is super easy, click, I think it was North United that had it, that where you click and easy.
Yeah, and it like,
The governor.
they pre-wrote
Yeah.
what you need
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah,
And you
I
just
liked
paste
that.
after you do
Because
it.
they got over 4,600 emails, 100 governors.
great thing is our people, they're all.
Yeah.
They are,
They've
they're
been
all
on board since the beginning.
really supporters of us.
Shall we set a date for the next meeting?
I love early morning meetings.
Don't even consider it.
It was a-
I'm in bed by then.
Well, I'm not, but. All right. What are we looking at?
I'm gone until May. I'm leaving
So
tomorrow.
we're looking at after the end of the month then?
Yep, May 1st, that is I'll be back on the 30th of May. You can meet without me, it's not a deal breaker, but I don't know if we have any. What, last day of session is what, the 3rd?
I think they had to push it back because they didn't gamble
Yeah,
in a
they
couple
had
days.
About 6
But they're
days.
trying to preserve some days, so. Just in case with, in case they need to do some sort of changes.
I think they're out till the 8th or 9th right now. By 80 days.
You wanted to meet before they're finalized. Push it back, and then keep pushing it back.
Realistically, there's a couple things that we can probably clean up before we get to that point, but the other piece of it is okay. In lieu of X amount of dollars, we're willing to accept blank. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other big piece of the process is like, well, we can't do this or this. Okay, so if you're strapped monetarily, then you like this. You know what I mean? And until we get to that, because it was the same thing, like we had a whole bunch of meetings, and then when the final thing came out, it's like, it was a meeting and we were done.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do, and oh, we can't do that, but here, we'll put it here and do this. It was an hour meeting and we're done. You know what I mean? And we spent a whole bunch of time sitting here talking and then,
Rehashing things.
and it's the same thing, so.
I don't like to meet just to meet. so.
I'm not a huge fan of it either. So like, I don't know, like we can set a tentative one for that second week of May, like towards the end of that second week of May and see where they're at with things. And it can be a quick check-in, or if they're done, it can be a legitimate meeting.
Till May.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at getting these issued before the end of the school year, that's the next week, so.
Yeah.
Right, meeting.
And hopefully they're done. And then, like I said, from the thing that I learned the last time we went through this process, we spent a whole bunch of, I don't want to say wasted, because that's not the right word, because it was productive in a lot of aspects, but as soon as the number came out, we were done in a day. You know, we had one meeting. And since neither one of us had like huge things that we were trying to slog through from,
Right.
Contract days or whatever the case might be, a lot of it is, from my perception, a lot of it is monetary. So if there's no monetary, then what's the other compensation. And then we have to, you know, what I mean, then it might take a little bit more negotiating. But a lot of it's just like, what's the dollar amount? Because we don't, like, you guys don't have anything that's like earth shattering. Like, we have to go back and talk about the health insurance and see where we're at with that. I understand your perspective, and I like it, like. That's a bug of you for every, regardless. I get it, because that's an unpredictable cost. We have to be more predictable. Understandable. I don't know where we're at with this. We gotta go back and discuss that.
No, and I totally get that.
The other thing to keep in mind is that we have a board meeting on the 16th.
Yeah.
If we can prevent calling a special meeting.
Last day of legislation right now is May 9th.
May 9th. We might have an idea by then.
I hope so.
And they can have that through before the last day, so hopefully.
We're looking at May 8th to 7:30.
Yeah.
Sorry, put it on my.
That work for you, ladies?
Suppose Larry's been sending some.
I hope so. He's so on the ball.
He is, he's in a good eye.
No motion to.
8:15 a.m.